Hey everybody! I'm thrilled to go to GenCon this year, but in preparation and anticipation of spending my time the best that I can while I'm there, I have curated my most anticipated games, the ones that I want to play really bad, that I'm seeing online, that I'm hearing a lot of buzz about, and this is really curated from Most Wanted Games Tracker that Emily DeMatt has put on Board Game Geek website. So I've got that link in the description below so you can check out her compiled list of just all the users, their thumbs, their interests, their likes, their ratings, and things like that. So of those 50 games, I picked 10 that I'm really going to keep my eye out for, and I will seek out in the exhibitor hall and demo rooms. So let's just jump right into my list. Now this is in no particular order, but the first one I'm going to talk about is Catherine, the Cities of the Tsarina. And when you take a look at this, there's some really interesting features. The first thing is I see this map and it kind of reminds me of Turn in Taxis or Elfinland, where it looks like you're going to have to try to network and build routes. And that definitely is one of the mechanisms that's listed at BGG. It also plays 2 to 4 and in 30 to 45 minutes and a complexity of 2. I mean, like that feels like the perfect kind of 30-minute to an hour-long game for 2 to 4. I mean, just hits that my group incredibly well for the size and the time. But the other two things that I think are really cool is that you've got hand management with this simultaneous action selection, and you've got this really cool trigger with 2 different rows of cards. And so you have an action row and then you have an activation row, and if you match colors on the cards beneath the ones on the top, you get to do cool stuff. So it sounds really, really cool. It sounds just real. I mean, I'm just really excited about this. So fantastic mechanisms. It looks really pretty, and I just want to play this right now. I do. Maybe this is my favorite one. Maybe I put this to the top because it looks fantastic. But yes, Catherine, the Cities of the Tsarina is the first game out of my top 10 that I'm looking forward to. The next game that I'm excited about is called Gartenbau. This is a 2 to 4 player, 30 to 60 minute game, 2 complexity out of 5. Sounds just like Catherine. Maybe I've got a little nice spot for those things. I promise there's some easier games and some more complex games coming up. But Gartenbau is by 25th Century Games, and it's got melding and splaying, and that reminds me of innovation and things like that. And I love a really clever card game that asks you to do special things with your cards, pattern building, tile placement, and variable player powers. So this has a garden or outdoor theme, and I think that just works so well. I love it. I really liked Floriferous, and so that theme can work incredibly well. So this looks great. You curate flowers in a garden, and you obviously want to fulfill, the requirements to the best of your ability. But I just think it sounds great. And who doesn't want to be crowned Gartenmeister? I mean, that sounds fantastic. Now, this next game on my list is for 2 to 4 players, but it's 60 to 120 minutes. So this is more like your hour to 2 hour heavier game. It's got a complexity rating of 2.82. It's called Space Station Phoenix by Rio Grande Games. And it is definitely, as you've guessed already, science fiction and space exploration. But the things that you're doing, it looks like it's worker placement and resource management game. It just has that feel to me where I just want to jump into it. It just seems like so, I don't know, terraforming Mars-esque. It feels just like the kinds of games that I want to get into where everybody has just a little bit of a different start than everyone else. And so you kind of have that variable player power and that, variable setup. But it looks like it's an engine building game. You start with a small one, and literally an engine, and you want to build up to a bigger one. And so you get more efficient with your actions as the game continues. But it seems interesting in the way that you take your actions. And so maybe if you take too many actions of the same kind, it diminishes the strength of that. And then that totally reminds me of Arc Nova and games that have, like, you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with your action cards on it. and then maybe there's a way for you to use it at its peak, but then it goes down and you really can't use it to the same effectiveness as before. So I think that sounds really interesting. It says here it features deep replayability with millions of possible starting positions and station part combinations. So yay for replayability, but it just looks really fun. All right, moving on to a much lighter game, but it looks so stinking cute. I mean, if creature comforts appeals to you with the cuteness of the animals, I think Fit to Print absolutely will. And it's not just cute, it is a puzzly tile-laying game that has this kind of journalism as its theme, but they're little cutie animals like badgers and foxes and bunnies and things like that. It's a woodland newspaper. So it's definitely got the abstract side of it with the strategy, but it is also labeled as real time. So yes, that's the thing that kind of tipped me over the edge. I love puzzle games, and I love games that are really accessible and fast, but also adorable. So for me, it seems really great because players are simultaneously collecting tiles that they think they're going to need for their newspaper, and then someone yells that they're ready to go. They yell layout, and they begin to lay out the page, and you have to essentially puzzle out the best organization for your newspaper cover, and I love that. That sounds so fun, like so fun. So really looking forward to Fit to Print. This year, AEG has a lot of really cool stuff coming out, and one of them is called Wormholes. This is just looking really cool. So another science fiction space exploration, but this looks like a pick up and deliver. This is that kind of transportation. You are essentially picking up and delivering folks, right? You want to establish wormholes and create a business where you are being the most effective at transporting all of these people, these passengers. As the captain, you're trying to get them from one place to the other. And it looks like this is kind of a game that builds and builds, and your wormholes don't always have to be in the same spot. So modular board and the hexagonal grid, so those tiles are fitting in and creating the world that you are essentially traveling through. Yeah, I mean, this just looks like it has everything. And I'm really excited about the theme here because I think anything that's space exploration is going to be something that Lewis will jump into in a heartbeat. So I don't have to convince him to jump into wormholes because, yeah, space. And he's like, space? So he's just on board. Yeah, looks fantastic. And speaking of space exploration, there's yet another one. I think this theme really came through quite strong, in addition to the kind of flower garden, oak meadow, that kind of like that theme, nature theme has been really popular lately, and there are a lot of games that are in that genre. I've got yet another space game here. It's called Starship Captains by CGE. And the thing about this game that sounds really interesting is it's got a medium complexity, 2.25, not too complex. It takes between an hour and a half to play, 2 to 4 players. But the thing that it is it's deck, bag, and pool building. And I love me some deck building. I love me some bag building. I want to reach in a bag. Now, I don't know if this has bags in it, but I think that sounds fantastic. There are 2 things here too that sound really cool. Open drafting. I love some open drafting as well. I've been playing a lot of games where there's a selection of things. There's a market and you are drafting things in turn order. But here it says variable setup and turn order progressive. And so for me, that sounds a little bit like turn order has something to do with the kinds of actions you take. And I really like that. So you've got all these different, opportunities to train and promote your crew, and you're building up your crew because you are a starship captain, and you want to prove yourself. So you've got space pirates, grumpy old androids, ancient artifacts, and interplanetary adventures. So yes, right? Sounds like it's got fun in spades. The artwork to me kind of looks a little bit like The Incredibles. So it has a really family-friendly appeal to it. And I think that it's pretty accessible with an hour to an hour and a half time limit. So really excited about Starship Captains too. Now this next game I'm excited because it's by a designer that I really like. It's co-designed by Alexander Pfister and Victor Kobilki. So it's by Deep Print Games and it's called Skymines. Oh, this looks really cool. So yes, science fiction again. I told you there's a lot of them, and I really did curate my list based on what I was interested in, usually with the mechanics or with the weight of the game. But I think that this absolutely works as well. You've got hand management, investment, stock holding, variable player powers. Now, the thing about stocks and investment is that's like usually a kind of thinky game. And you will definitely get the thinky part of Skymines in this game because it has a complexity rating of 3.86. That is pretty high. It might actually be the highest complexity rating top 10 game that I'm looking forward to. It does take 75 to 150 minutes to play, so it's probably going to exceed that 2-hour mark. But I don't care. I want to play it. I want to play it because it's got Alexander Pfister's name on it, and I love me some thinky games. I really do. I want to sit down. I want to have all these choices, and I want to just like manage. I want to, card programming? Yes, right? This is the heart of the game, is a unique card programming and hand management system. And so, yes, I love programming cards and then just seeing what happens and or reacting in the moment once you've planned everything, and you kind of have to change your strategy or your technique based on anomalies or really interesting player interactive features. So I think Skymines looks fascinating, and I probably won't get a full run through of the game, but I might actually get a taste of it, right? I'd love to sit down and just learn it, and I think that would be fantastic. Now, the next game I'm excited about is from a recognizable designer from Red Raven Games. It's Ryan Lockett, and the game is called Nightfall. And it's got a really cool looking theme. It's like fantasy and medieval. You've got a knight, of course. But the cool thing about this is it's got team-based actions and storytelling as its main mechanism. So it looks like you're using cards and you are moving through a grid. So it's an asymmetrical team game for 1 to 6 players, which is nice to have that range of players. About 45 to 60 minutes, it looks like, for each scenario. I'm not sure if this is kind of a campaign or if this is a replayable game, but it seems like everybody gets to be kind of special. And so that's what that asymmetrical start is. But I love. Oh, it looks like here there's a campaign mode for 1 to 2 players, and you read stories while exploring the map. And you've got all this stuff to crunch through and to climb through and to sift through. So I think the storytelling aspect is really where Ryan Lockett does a great job. And it looks like he brought in another designer, T. Alex Davis. And I just think the artwork is going to be stunning. So yes, I want to look at it. Yes, I want to touch it. And I do want to play it. And I think it might be something that Lewis and I might do as the 2-player campaign. So really cool things it looks like with Nightfall. I've got another shorty for you. This one says it takes about 20 minutes to play, and it's 1 to 4 players. It's called Turing Machine. Now, it doesn't have a complexity rating, but I imagine at a 20-minute time limit and deduction as its heart, it probably doesn't take too long to play, and it's not going to be like, knocking on the 4 out of 5 complexity. But it says it's a unique deduction game, and so there are more than 7 million problems to discover, from simple to mind-staggeringly complex. So I think, to me, it sounds like there's kind of this way to make it easier or harder based on what kind of, challenge you want. But I love a straight-up deduction game. Give it to me. I want to puzzle it out. I want to really work my brain. And with this being such a light game, maybe there's a chance to play it and maybe play it again, share it, go play it in the BGG room at night. I've got my tickets to go there every night. So I'm hoping that I can get my hands on this puzzle game, Turing Machine. And the last game on my list is a betting game. It's a horse racing game by AEG called Ready, Set, Bet. Did anyone not expect this? I mean, I love horse racing games. I love betting games. I love racing games. And so with designer John D. Clare, I mean, I really like what he's done. He's got this really cool brain that I think works for me. And so his previous games have made me just really want to jump into this. Plus, I love the theme. I love the real-time element here. It says there's betting and bluffing, dice rolling, racing, real-time track movement. How do I not want to go and play this game? Like, this had to make my top list. And when I told Lewis, he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, 2 to 9 players, What a range, right? I love this. And I'm always looking for really cool new party games that are fun, that are really fun. And maybe not word-based, because I buy all the word-based party games. But it's 45 to 60 minutes, no complexity rating for weight. But I do want to head to the races for a day of cheering, jeering, and betting. Count me in. 100% ready, set, bet. There are 10 more games that I left off my list. I actually had a list of 20. So at the very end of this video, what you're going to see is a list of all the games that didn't make my top 10, but I'm still going to stop and see if I run across them. I'm going to actively seek out my top 10, but I will not say no to the next 10 in my list. So essentially 11 to 20. There are some strong games in that list and just really interesting looking games. So take a look at the end of the video for that. I'll put it up on a card. I'll also put all of my lists down in the description below so you can take a look at them, copy paste, whatever you want to do. Check them out yourself if you're headed to GenCon 2. But those are the games that I will be looking for on the sly. Now for just a couple games I want to list off that I've already played. These are games that were also on the top 50 list at the BGG thread that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and I've already played them or I own them, and I just am not going to actively spend my time at GenCon playing them. Now the first one is Septima. I actually played Septima and did a run-through video for Rado Runs Through It over at his channel. So if you want to go and check that out, please go and see that. You'll see what my final thoughts are on the game, but you'll also get a really good feel for the game. Planet Unknown. I've done a video on my channel for Planet Unknown. I loved it. I loved it so much. You've got these polyominoes that you're placing in your own little area, scooping up, you know, asteroids and driving your little car around. It's fantastic. I love it. I own it. It's not going anywhere. The Guild of Merchant Explorers. I also have that game and have played it, and a new video will be coming out very soon if it's not already out before this video comes out. And so it's a great game too. I love the feel for it. You're going to get even more of my take on that in my video for, again, the Guild of Merchant Explorers. Ark Nova. I've made a video for that. I love Ark Nova. I'm glad I have it. It's just a phenomenal game. I can't believe it wasn't actually up for Game of the Year for Spiel des Jahres. It was a recommended game. Absolutely recommended. It's amazing. It's so good. The next game is First in Flight. I kickstarted First in Flight, so I'm not going to play it because I know I'm going to be getting it at my house and I'm going to have plenty of time to play it after GenCon. So First in Flight, I love it. It looks really great. A little bit of press your luck and cards. I love that feature too. Kind of like Mystic Vale style. Love it. Long Shot the Dice Game. I have that, and I also have a video about that too. I really like horse racing games, and I love Long Shot, the board game. So when I backed Long Shot the Dice Game on Kickstarter, received it, I was just thrilled. Thrilled. I love it. I love it. I love horse racing games. It's fantastic. Gutenberg. I got my hands on a game of Gutenberg at Board Game Geek Convention this last November, and so I don't need to spend time at Gen Con playing that game, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was essentially buying letters that you use to essentially spell out and do certain things. Oh boy, it's so cool with the player turn order and the actions you get to take. Very clever. Love it. High player interaction without feeling bad. I mean, it's really good. I like it a lot. My Father's Work, we have that, and the app was just finalized like a couple days before I film this right now. And so Lewis and I haven't gotten our first game in, but we are really excited. We are raring to go with My Father's Work. And so when we get our first game in of that, I will also post a video, but I'm super excited because we have it and it's here and it's ready to be played. And the last game is Decorum. I actually have a copy of Decorum, have played it many times with smaller groups and bigger groups, and I also have a run-through that I did with Lewis, and I posted that to my channel as well. So if you want to see it in action, what it really looks like and feels like, please check out that video on my channel. Thanks for joining me for this 10 most anticipated games that I'm looking forward to trying out at Gen Con, checking out. They are on this hot list, and boy was it hard to narrow it down to 10, but I will be actively looking for those and then kind of on the secret looking for my 11 through 20. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What are the games that you would give a chance to try? What are you interested in? What do you want more information about? And then hopefully after I get back from Gen Con, I will share with you a video of my highlights, my low lights, my interesting lights, maybe a little bit of my painting, because yes, I am doing a speed painting mini. Okay, I'm so excited. It's my first year to do it, and I'm super, super excited. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I will see you after GenCon. Bye.